Hello, beautiful people. I am coming to you today with a heavy topic of victim consciousness and its relationship with shame. So, I just want to say that the information that is in this video is just from my experience. It's just from what I've seen. It's from my own experience with victim mindset and sort of martyrism and that consciousness. It is like an energy, and I would go so far as to say it's entity like, because it does almost feel it's so there's so many layers of trauma that have to happen when a person gets into this martyr victim energy. And when there's that much trauma, there are attachments, entities, and things like that. It's almost like that attach. It's almost like there's not much separation between that level of trauma and in the spirit world, what we would think of as like entity attachment type stuff, because first of all, things do attach when there's that much trauma and people are that disconnected, so disconnected from their light and from their power, right? So things can attach kind of, from the outside, but also it takes the trauma itself actually takes an attachment of something coming in. That's the actual trauma as well, like, if that makes sense, right? So it's almost like at the root cause is sort of attachment entity type energy, and then the result is sort of more of that energy happening, sort of attacking on that person, because it's sort of fed in this kind of web of, like, I don't want to say like so doom and gloom, like web of kind of dark energy. And so, and also the people who are in this energy, it's very sticky. It's like very stuck. It's like hard to kind of see past your own perspective and your own scope or your own trauma, your own stuff, And so that too feels very attachment entity type to me, because it's like something's always kind of coming to kind of pull you down, right? We think about like the thought patterns of someone stuck in a victim mentality and victim patterns and stuff, and this energy. We think of like it is almost like a psychic attack, right? It's like the second that someone might have some empowerment or a bit of hope or light come in, it's like, nope, because you've been traumatized and you've been this and and the stories come in almost like an attack. I do that motion with my hands because it's like a great way to describe sort of how these people feel, right? And almost like but also like what's happening, and so I want to like honor the experience of somebody that is stuck in this, because we talk about it a lot in the healing world as sort of one of those energies that like is really hard to heal if you have that, and that can feel really hard for someone who has it. And so I want to offer this idea of like, or this perspective of like, validating not the energy and that, but what had to happen in the person's life to sort of have this end result. And it's so layered and complex, because the same traumas can happen to one person, happen to another person, and one person has this victim stuff and the other person doesn't. So it's like, depends on past lives. It depends on the disposition, to me, I love our birth charts and our disposition. Definitely depends on if we are sort of fight flight dominant or if we're more freeze dominant, right? So the freeze dominant would be more victim, in my mind, more victim. Fight flight has still, there's, you can access that life force energy more. It's more connected. That sympathetic energy is connected to your life force. Even if it's dysregulated, if you run more fight flight pattern in your body than freeze, you're gonna have a little bit more drive to sort of like, do, move, be proactive with your life, with your healing, than someone that's got a lot of freeze. Okay, so that's my beginning rant. So we'll dive in a little bit with the stuff that I kind of the notes that I had. So what I've noticed is that this victim mentality, energy, whatever you want, consciousness, whatever you want to, however you want to refer to it, is very much connected to shame. Intuitively, and again, what I've seen with my clients and heard from different people and picked up on, it's like shame in combination with a lack of love, attachment, connection in early childhood and probably, to developmental age period, which is up to like, could be 21, 18-ish. Early childhood is 0 to 3. So, when we think about attachment and needing connection and love to sort of set the groundwork for our nervous system, it's in those early years. And so when we have a lack of that, and then you have the shame on top of it, what's wrong with you? Why, I don't know, you're stupid. All the things that can be like ridicule, right? On top of not having love, that seems to be like a strong combination for what we would see later as a victim. This energy often shows up in the belly. Most people who hold shame definitely have some digestive issues that I have seen. And when we start to work with shame in particular, we actually do feel that's the sensation of kind of nausea coming up from the body. And that sensation seems to be very intertwined with shame. And shame seems to be very intertwined with sort of that victim consciousness, sort of draw it back to the physical sensation of the body, the somatic body, which of course I always like to do, is very much resides in the belly. Now, heart also can play a role. And I would say that these people are typically more freeze dominant. And so when we're frozen, we can't use our voice. And so throat is also usually affected. So to weave in a little bit of information, education around like what we know about German New Medicine, which I love so much. If you don't know what that is, it is a medicine, I guess they call them laws. I would say theory is a broad term for it. Dr. Homer, I believe in the 70s, started doing research on the connection between certain types of illnesses and cancers, and their connection with specific emotional distress and what he calls conflicts of the body. And one of the big conflicts that I've actually been diving into a bit lately is this conflict of, he calls it the indigestible morsel conflict. And it's when you get a piece of information or something happens, right? Something's come at you that you can't accept it, right? It's like a conflict that it's like it's so hard for you to digest, right? But it's like a metaphor for the word, for this like idea of like, it's just, you can't accept it. It's just like, it couldn't be that this happened. And so if you think about shame for a little one, like that would be very hard to digest. The body would have a hard time digesting a lot of shame as a little one. Um, this could very much be, where we would see sort of digestive issues start. And as we know, the gut is very connected to our mental well-being, symptoms stemming from there, right? Other chronic symptoms. When a little one has a lot of shame coming down on them, right? And sort of like where it's like they're living in an environment where nothing is ever good enough, and they're sort of struggling to be good, do good, behave a certain way, almost, perform at how they need to perform to try to meet the standards, AKA find safety in their environment. And it's like nothing's ever good enough for them to receive sort of the love that their body is like looking for. Instinctual, sort of biological reaction of the body to start to freeze. Obviously, you freeze the authentic parts of you because you're doing all this stuff to try to find safety in your environment. But a lot of freeze will happen, especially if we're like, if you think about a little one, the worst shame you can imagine, right? You're, ugly, you're fat, you aren't good enough, you aren't worthy enough. You basically, and that's what the little one is hearing, is like, I'm not worthy of like love or acceptance or whatever. If the little one isn't going to fight back, which they wouldn't feel safe to fight back against those things, then they are going to start to shut down. And so that's where we would see kind of like that freeze start to happen, because a little one can't fire back and yell. I mean, they can have a tantrum for maybe a little while, but eventually they're going to break down because there's a caregiver that's bigger and stronger than them that's telling them that they are a certain way. And the body starts to accept that, or starts to almost maybe then eventually look for that in other relationship scenarios in order to feel safety, or a false sense of safety. It wouldn't be safety, it would be what's familiar, but our pattern doesn't understand that. And so that develops this sort of trend, if we had a certain pattern, obviously in early childhood, we see that pattern kind of start to play out. Because if you feel like you're not worthy of love from a caregiver early childhood, there's nothing to set you up to tell you anything different later on. And so the pattern just sort of continues to repeat itself. And then when that happens, it reinforces the belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not this enough. And those are the exact stories that we see in somebody who's really stuck in the victim consciousness. So with both victim and shame, I would say in relationships, both with, intimate partners or in friendships, these people don't ever actually believe that anyone loves them. They don't feel lovable or worthy of love. It's just like I was just saying, therefore they don't find relationships or people who are capable of giving that, right? And so that's why it continues to be reinforced, and the victim continues to be reinforced. Obviously, this is a really complex topic, and there's different variables in every situation. I would love your feedback in the comments to see what other kinds of patterns that you may have seen with people with this type of energy. And if you have yourself have this type of energy, or some of the sort of links and common denominators and patterns that you see that are connected to it. So there's a couple of suggestions that I'm going to give for this energy. The first is to understand whether or not you hold this pattern within you, the victim consciousness and shame or self-shame, right? So shame from a caregiver growing up as a child, and then now, you currently shame yourself, right? Those same words and things are something that you play out in your head that kind of keep you in that victim state. And so the first thing I think that it would be important and necessary for somebody to understand is, do I feel like I'm going to heal? Is there a part of me inside of me that feels like I know I'm going to heal, right? Or are you always locked in, I'm never going to heal. I know I'm not good enough. I'm never going to find my partner. I'm never going to and decipher how much percentage of your mind is taken over by that one or the other, right? So even though I suffered from some victim mentality, I always knew I was going to heal. I always knew I was a healer. I knew I came here on this planet to have, and that is the reason why I was able to break free from some of these patterns, which, by the way, will still rear their ugly head on me at times. But I'm aware of them now, and I can see them and hear them and work with them, right? However, it's important to really understand, where's that part of me that is the survivor, that part of me that was knows that, is there a part of you that you can tap into that knows that you're going to be okay, that knows that you're worthy, that knows that you're special, that knows that you have gifts, that knows that you have power, that knows that you're smart, that knows that you, right, whatever it is. And so the first step is sort of recognizing the patterns of the mind, and what stories play out when things don't go well for you or when something happens around you. Is there a lot of, I'm at a disadvantage because ... This person wronged me because ... I'm not good enough because ... I'll never find her, right? And what is it that brings you out of that thought process when you do come out of it, if you are ever able to come out of it, right? And sort of really highlighting those other pieces. So even taking a pen and paper and writing down what in your life is good right now. What on your physical vessel feels good, even if it's a pinky toe. What people around you, is there anyone around you that feels supportive, that loves you? And really highlighting and focusing on those good aspects. There's always something good that we can try to shine a light on. First step would be recognizing when you go into those thought patterns. I'm not good enough, wrong me because of this isn't working out because I'm this, nobody loves me because of those things, those stories. 2 would be, where is the sensation in the body? So can you feel your body in that moment when those things are happening and notice what's going on? What happened to your breath when those thought patterns were happening? What happened to your heart? What's your body doing right now? How do your joints feel? How does your stomach feel? and noticing sort of what comes up in the physical body around this, either a situation or an experience or, whatever it is that triggered the victim and the shame. And so, and noticing for a few days, because an experience might happen, the thought patterns might happen, and then the symptoms could come 2-3 days later or a week later, even, who knows, and so like kind of noticing that, right? But also in real time when it's happening, just drawing the attention down to the body can help to stop the loop, right? When we're like, oh my gosh, wow, my throat feels really tight. I feel like I want to say something and I can't. My heart, my chest feels really tight. So really noticing what the body feels like. The next step is to start to acknowledge or recognize the aspects of your life that are good, even if it's the smallest, seemingly insignificant thing. There's something. And so trying as much as you can, and as hard and maybe even painful, like as it might be, to like recognize something of a good quality, either you own, you have, or something good around you in your space, or where you live, or in a person that you love, something that you can draw on to help you feel supported in, these moments, but not even in these moments, just kind of all the time, to start to really, wow, like I live in this house and like there's these beautiful trees outside my window. Like every day I can see those trees and like they make me feel so good, because of this feeling, nostalgia, whatever it is. Or wow, this cup of tea that I have in the afternoon, like I love it so much. It makes me feel warm. It makes me feel cozy, so that's sort of like, combination of kind of bringing in, like I said, highlighting some aspects, positive aspects of your life that are around you and within you, and also using some resources to help you, feel sort of, contained, loved, supported in those moments. And that is the end of this video on victim consciousness and its connection to shame. I hope that you liked it, and leave a comment below if you have something to say or a question, and I will see you guys next time.